I think so. We are online.
I think we're live. So,
Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome everyone to the another episode of CxO Forum. Today, the topic that we have chosen for the event is sustainable supply chain management. I think supply chain used to be one of those departments where, pre-COVID, if I talk about it, used to be one of those departments which was a very thankless department. So, this department used to really work hard, make sure that, everything is in place, there's proper demand, uh, supply of the demand. They used to really work hard to make sure that the procurement is done at the right pricing and everything, but never got the credit until COVID happened. So once COVID happened, then the world realized that, oh my God, supply chain is a very critical department, and we need to appreciate this department more because the entire world was put to a standstill, and it was this department which kind of pulled up together and resumed the overall operations of different companies. So I think it's a very important topic that we have today. We now have a lot more experience than before. Because of COVID, because of different supply chain related challenges that we now face in the international market than what we used to face before. So these things are behind us. So we've become slightly more learned versus where we were before, to say the least. So I think with this background in mind, I would like to start our discussion with a round of introductions. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Salman Yusuf. I am the chief marketing officer for the Hilal Group. I've been in the FMCG industry for the last 2 decades. Majority of my work experience has been with Procter and Gamble. I was both here in Pakistan. I started off in Pakistan, then I was moved internationally. I was leading the region in the Middle East region. Um, there I worked for around 7 to 8 years. Then I came back to Pakistan with a wish to start off my own business. I did that, and it was quite successful. But then the political scenario changed, and I had to shut down the business. So that's for another day what happened there. But then I went back to the job market. I started off again as the GM marketing for Nepal, and currently working for the Hilal Group. So that's a very small introduction about myself. I would like you guys to introduce yourselves. I think just based on the sequence that I see on my screen, I request Mr. Hafiz Shah Saab to start off with his introduction first.
Yeah, thank you, Suman. So my name is Hafiz, and I'm a CIO at Sapphire Finishing Mills. So I have like 2 decades of experience in technology. I have worked in Middle East, North Africa, and Asia Pacific region. Being part of a solution company or I would say consulting side, I got a chance to work with many companies and in almost like 10 countries within these regions that I have mentioned. So yeah, this is pretty much about me.
Great, thank you for your introduction. It was very nice and short and sweet. I would request Mr. Zafar Imran Saab to introduce himself. You're on mute, sir.
Thank you so much, Salman, for inviting us. So my name is Zafar Imran. So I'm basically now based in Islamabad. So I'm in the industry for last 32 years now. Initial 15 years I spent in Pakistan with all most of the premier organization. I was so lucky. So working with Descon, KSP pumps, packages. So early 2000, I switched from engineering career to information technology, mainly in the software. So the last 14, 15 years, I was based in Dubai. So I was part of the solution consulting team there with the tier one ERP, and I've been helping customers ranging in all industries actually. So, manufacturing, retail, distribution, aviation, public sector. So, in 21 December, I came back in Pakistan. So, we have a company, Zycon Cloud, which we formed in UAE. We have an office in UK also, And in December 21, we started in Pakistan by setting up an offshore center here. So we are serving international customers from Islamabad.
Very nice, very impressive. And you're based in Islamabad now, or you're still in Dubai?
Yes, I'm based in Islamabad.
All right, okay, great. Thank you for the introductions, Afisab. I would request Mr. Numan to introduce himself.
Uh, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, CxO Forum and Salman for asking me to join. I'm CEO of SI Global Solutions. We are based in Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, Quetta, Dubai, and USA. And technology company. बाकी नाम ही काफ़ी है.
Nice.
Since you are from marketing, so मैंने का slogan use करूँगा.
Of course, बिल्कुल सही बात है. Thank you very much for the introduction, Numan Saab. I would request Hamza Saab to introduce himself.
Assalamu alaikum everybody, and thank you Salman Saab and CxO Forum for arranging this session. I am a technology lawyer. Basically, I've been in the technology side for the last 10 years, for related to supply chain, I've done my masters in supply chain, so I've got an understanding regarding this supply chain going on, the vendor related contracts and everything. So that's my expertise there. I've been working with various financial institutions where ESG goals are now on the top ranking for them. So that is one of my areas where I have worked upon and worked in collaboration with these financial institutions so that I get more insights on this in supply chain related area. Currently, I'm heading the group or head legal group from Jaffa Brothers and looking after their various companies. And I'm based in Karachi.
Okay. Thank you very much, Hamza Saab. Very
Thank you.
impressive profile, mashallah. So I will start off with one common introduction and introductory question from all of you guys, so that we can at least start the discussion. So my question would be, what would be the one successful, sustainable supply chain initiative that you guys might have implemented within your organizations, that you guys are really proud of and that has really sustainably changed the way you guys were doing the business? So I would like to hear that, and I'm sure the people who are connected to us would also like to hear the great learnings that you guys have gotten from that initiative. So anybody who would want to go first can just start.
So should we follow the same sequence?
Whatever you like.
Maybe.
No, for-
Okay, so I'll start with
Standardization.
it. Yeah. So you see, when you talk about sustainability in the supply chain, so so there are, I think, three elements to it which are very important, which is like social, and environmental, and economic. And I think when you talk about sustainability, that means you're talking about a long-term strategy, right? In terms of
Yes.
be in a position that you can take your organization or the company uh, to very far, right? So I
Yeah.
think economic is very important. And when we talk economic, there are multiple areas, and one of the area is making the business more profitable, because it's all about, at the end, once the business is profitable, and then it can obviously sustain. So once it can sustain, then it can talk about other social and economic and environmental and other stuff. So one of the initiative that we took was digitalizing the procurement, basically. So for any organization, like you said, that the COVID basically told us that how supply chain is very much important, because many of the shipments got stuck, right? So people, the businesses were on hold whenever someone was ordering. So there are timelines like which used to be like 3 months. It goes up to more than a year. So I believe making getting a support from technology. I think it was very much of the the need of the hour at that moment in time. So what we did, we would try to digitalize our procurement, and we implemented a supplier relation management system, when I was working with I during those that period of time I was working with ICA Pakistan Limited, and we implemented a e-procurement solution that not only help us to get reach to a lot of suppliers which are available online. I mean to say, whenever you name it, if you select SAP, for example, or select Oracle, it does not only give you the functionality, but also give you access to reach beyond the boundaries and get the competitive rates from different suppliers. So what we did, we when we implemented it, we started with making the reverse auction, basically the features and the functionalities in that system. We started, so it was a phase out project. So we started with reverse auctioning, and by doing so, it saved a lot of money for our organization, and that obviously added to the bottom line of the company. So this was one of the initiative. I believe that was very much successful, and it was there was a lot of appreciation from the management side on this.
That's very impressive. So, do you have a, just for us as a group, if you would like to evaluate and understand what percentage of improvement did it bring to your bottom line? Just a percentage number, not the numbers.
I believe if you talk about the overall percentage, I think it must have added like 4 to 5%, I believe. And the overall
Wow,
procurement, the percentage was higher.
very nice, great. Thank you very much for a great example, Havisab. I believe Zafar Saab would like to go next.
Yeah, sure, sure, definitely. So, since my career was more divided into two parts, so initial 10 years, I was at the end user level. So that means I was working with the large, groups. I remember early 90s when, ISO 9000 and all these standards were coming. So I was the very first person or first wave of the experts with which we did our hands dirty with these standards, ISO 9000, 14,000, all that. So in early 2000, when I got the exposure to the APAC industry and I moved to Singapore and started working with some consulting project. So I came to know about the sustainability at that time because it's actually 20 years old, sustainability concepts, and we came across with something called GRI. So this is the global reporting initiatives. So at that time it was GRI 1.0, for example. So it was very early version of that. So I've seen industries using GRI as a tool, uh, not only to improve the business processes, but also gaining some financial benefits. So as Faisab said very rightly, that it has an impact on all three areas. So socially, you are more responsible. So that means then you are more responsible towards taking care of your employees, taking care of your partners, more environment friendly. So that was the second thing. It has benefits towards and economic also. The bottom lines improve a lot, of course, because the moment you start thinking about and start thinking about reducing waste, for example, and control your carbon footprint, so definitely you have a positive impact on your bottom line. Not only that, but also overall your brand or overall your company image grows very well. And I've seen over the period of time that those companies who went public after some time, so there was a huge market capitalization for them due to their initiatives in sustainability. So in my experience, because I've been helping in whole Gulf and the whole Middle East Africa region for 14 years, so most of the customers, they use this GRI global reporting initiative. Now it is GRI 4.0, which is latest, and this is actually it covers both all the social, economic and environmental aspects. So I believe this is one tool. If you ask me, that one thing that has really changed the overall spectrum, and people have gained benefits. So I still remember like more than 100 plus engagements face to face with the customer in last 7 8 years. GRI 4.0 was a very vital thing, and in fact, when we came and start this operation, so we also are developing cloud. So we call it sustainability cloud, and lots of companies are now starting gaining benefit for that as well.
Very nice, very impressive. So, and with your breadth of knowledge and expertise, I think you were one of those pioneers who experienced and implemented strategies for sustainable supply chain management even before people who learned after COVID, I guess. So,
Right.
mashallah, very, very impressive.
Thank
I'd
you.
request Numan Saab to share his views on this.
I'll just try and quickly run through public, private, and other experiences that I have over the years. So starting with the manufacturing sugar mill. So we were the first sugar mill, but before moving to that, the most important consideration is your policy. Is your policy is in line with your goal and vision? What mostly is happening now is because there are certain companies which they have the policy, but they are not willing to change it for various reasons. That's very important. Regulatory compliance is also very important. Cost effectiveness, traceability, and above all, currently what we are facing is transparency. These are the 4 5 elements that are very important, and these are the issues that we face in Pakistan, especially. So, what is happening is that what we are doing is we are relying more on customized solutions. So, with the kind of growth that we have, and we are coming forward, it will take some time to adapt to those customized softwares, because some of them are very complicated and some of them are very easy, and the companies are not willing to spend on trainings. So while you procure heavy softwares, you don't have a team to run them or to play with them. So the playing time is less and productivity is required. So that's where the ROI comes into play. So based on that, my first experience was when I was in college, and we did this. First of all, we revised the policy. Based on that, we made a software which was integrated with the mill and the head office and the procurement division and other aspects also, so that everything is automated. I'm talking about way back in 1988, while I was a student.
Wow.
I was a grade 9 student, grade
Mhm.
10 student, I don't remember that. So, but since we made that software, we also integrated the hardware also, so that the payroll and all the processes were automated. Based on that, this process was adopted by 7 other sugar mills, and we sold the software and the hardware, and including all the supply chain. So, our cost was zero, because we have already taken the cost in our cost, and we
Yeah.
started making. And then there was another business that started all over again, and it's not flourishing. The second example is railways. You must have seen the online booking, and that
Yes.
has been this is saving approximately 2 billion rupees because of other resource, because it was never documented, and now it's been
Oh wow.
documented. So the third is excise, because there are certain processes that are part of it. So we revived that, we automated it, and besides that, there are a few other banks which I cannot disclose because of NDA,
Sure.
and simultaneously there are other projects also. But the last one was Punjab Assembly, because we had to integrate all the softwares under one umbrella, and that was done and customized. It was not something that we bought from outside, because my idea is that what's happening is that we are giving revenue to. I am sure most people would not like that, but we are giving revenue to main software players, and not developing our own talent and not helping them make their own thing, so that they come up with their own thing and they grow. So when you talk about sustainability, that's one of the aspects of it. So this is what it is. Plus, what we did is that then there are other philanthropic softwares that we did. One of them was for education because in remote areas, education is very difficult. So what we did is it's not about online, but there was physical presence also. But we did it in such a way that the entire examination and every process was automated. But then again, it took 5 years because we did slowly because the people over there would not be able to learn and adapt and use the software in its true essence. But now it's very much functioning and everything is, mashallah, online and it's flourishing. And then there is School
Oh,
for Deaf, where it's very, exciting. I'm very proud to say that there was, School for Deaf. It's very difficult. So what we did is that we started teaching them how to repair a mobile and desktops and laptops. Mashallah, they're doing fantastically well and they're on their jobs. They're finding places to work and they are earning for themselves. Sorry, I took I mean, much time than I should have. So that's what it is from my side.
no, no, this is very helpful, and thank you for sharing this experience. I think you've been doing sustainable work for a very long time, and you have a vast experience of public-private sector. So that's a very unique expertise that we have here in this room. So we really appreciate the content that you shared with us, and we look forward to hearing more when we get to the next questions, because I think there's some interesting things that you have touched upon, and I'm going to come back to that in a bit. With that, I will like to move on to Mr. Hamza to share with us his experience.
Yes, as Mr. Noman said earlier, the policies are very important when we go into sustainable supply chain. And as earlier said by the Fasab and Hafiz Saab, it directly impacts the bottom line, because usually we do not take that into account, and then we say that it's okay, we have a sustainable supply chain, but we tend to expense more out of it rather and impacting the bottom line, which impacts and gets us into negative, rather than it should help us increase the bottom line. So I could say that I'm one of the luckiest person that I've been able to develop this in my previous organization, where I was able to develop the this sustainable supply chain and ESG goals for the company, implement, have the SOPs drawn down with the help of the management, the stakeholders, and everyone, so that they are up to mark and up to date as well. Because usually we have it in the sense that okay, we'll do this, we'll do that, but it's not written to have a standardized policy and then follow it. And once we followed it, it really took a drastic turn, because we were able to then calculate the carbon footprints. We were able to digitize some of the processes. We were able to go in few departments paperless. So this is one of the things, that policies are very important in sustainable supply chain, and regulatory frameworks, as Noman Saab said earlier. Regulatory framework working around in your organization, where you have a regulator and you have to work around it. It's not like we can go and challenge the regulator. We have to have such a scenario where we help and tend to grow in that regulatory environment. It's not like we have to bypass them, we have to work in that. So policies are very important. And then when having the policy, make implementing it and having it work around it with the stakeholders. So in my experience, carbon footprints were calculated in the organization, which were never calculated. We had vehicles moving to and fro across Pakistan, but we were not able to calculate the carbon emissions. We got that calculated, how it impacted the energy side, the supply chain side, how the impact was on the diesel and the petrol, the fuel that was being used. That came out, and there was drastic changes, that okay, we can reduce it. Why did we take a longer route there? And how and why, what impact it caused to the environment as well. So that was really helpful. And one more thing, that we in few departments we went paperless. We knew that it would be difficult, but once we started implementing it, we got to have less paper in those environments, and ultimately that impacted the entire environment and the organization working in.
Great. That's again a very pertinent example that you have shared, and thank you for that. I think two of you guys have touched upon transparency and traceability. So it was Numan Saab and I think Hamza. So my question is that what do you guys think how important it is to have a transparent traceability system or accountability system to implement a sustainable supply chain? What role does that play? So you guys can start.
I'll
Zafar.
go this. I'll
Sure, sure,
start this time.
sure, sure.
This is very important because we cannot go and implement it from down the stream. We have to implement from the top. So if we have it implemented from the top management and then flow it down to the lower staff regarding the transparency and traceability thing, so we are able to handle this very easily, and with all the things documented and written down, we get to have more clarity on the situation and work around it. As we all know, we have the 3 R's: reduce, recycle, and uh, there's one more, reduce, reuse. So basically those three things are basically calculated, and we are able to handle it equally with the help of the stakeholders. So it's very important for this traceability and trackability that we tend to have this in writing, because usually in Pakistan, just taking the scenario, we take it in CSR activities, like okay, we are doing something sustainable, so let's put it in CSR activity. But this shouldn't be the case. This should be an ultimate overall involvement in the organization, in the operations of the business, so that it's easy for them, easy for the company, easy for the stakeholders, even the vendors, and even the vendors, the second tier vendors, the third tier vendors, that they get that information that the manufacturer or the company organization is working towards it.
Okay, very, very
Uh,
pertinent.
my
Sure,
point
please
of
go
view
ahead.
is that first thing is integrity. Very important because if you have a sustainable system and you want traceability, integrity, involvement of stakeholders, risk identification and its mitigation, uh, the confidence to the team. And what happens is that because of COVID, yes, there was this surge in supply chain. But again, we are coming back and assuming that we are in a normal state and nothing will happen in future. So the reactive approach is very much there. Unfortunately, in our genes, we don't follow proactive processes.
True.
So when you come to sustainability, I think we are far behind in this area because there are a number of things that you have to do. And for example, awareness among the team and spending time with them, and it's not about that you are in a police station. There is a check and balance.
Yeah.
You have to build this because people come from different sectors, different walk of lives. You cannot just assume that they have a degree because the standard of education is depleting. So sorry, I'm being very blunt. So what happens is the product and the output is not ready for the job. So what
True.
happens is they take 1.5 year to learn the skill, but the important aspect is that they are on their own. So the point of integrity, transparency, is not inculcated from the college itself because it cannot happen within an organization and within an year. It has to be from school level. And the policies, what we do is we take initiative but not drive. And if we have drive, we have no initiative. So the balance is not there at the moment. It's not that companies are not adopting it, and we are coming up. So give a breather, but in that breathing space, we should have some document which is very simple and not copy pasted, based on our own problems and based on our own solutions. That's the answer to the solution, and which will definitely increase integrity because you see a number of issues in almost all the organizations in this regard, and there are certain claims which are wrong also. And at times, all the hard work, uh, because that just like you said, it's a thankless job. So, one small incident takes away all the credit without knowing the fact that whether it is correct or not. So favoritism is very much it's part of this art system. So when you talk about sustainability, transparency, we use the buzzword, but I mean, still we need to step up. Eventually, inshallah, we'll reach to that point. It was there,
Yeah.
but somehow we lost our way. Thank you.
Yeah, you've touched upon a very, very important part. So you talked about the integrity, which is pretty much something which people either have it or they don't. Uh, so while I agree that it is more to do with learnings in school, at home, how people are brought up, and all of that. But I think another important part, which also helps in developing a sustainable organization overall across all departments, is developing a culture which nurtures these things, right? So I've worked for a few multinationals, and the culture there has been so transparent and so pro transparency and integrity that nobody would dare do anything uh, apart from what is the right way to do it. So I think culture also plays a very big role in this, and if we have the right approach and culture in an organization, that can also greatly help implementing this strategy.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on this. But then again, those are multinationals, and they have the policies from abroad which needs to be followed up in Pakistan, and they have enough fund. Unfortunately, with our companies, it's very difficult because the cost of production, manufacturing, or a wholesaler, retailer, or be it anything, is very, very high due to various factors. So you cannot factor this fact because you have to have a factor of this in the cost. If you don't have it, then you will not be able to implement it the way it should be.
Okay, that's a good perspective. Zafar Saab, you were about to say something, and we kind of
Yeah,
held you back.
sure. So I will share my experience of two major markets. I think that will be a very good, I would say, interpolation. One is the Qatar. Now, Qatar, is a very small country, but you will be surprised to know that in 2012 they mandated for the sustainability reporting for the public and the private sector. So they were the first one in the region who took this bold step. And as Nuansa very rightly mentioned, that it has to be inculcated within the cost model, within the financial model, that what sort of investment you are going to do to achieve the carbon footprint reduction and all that stuff. Now, as per the culture of the typical Arabs, everything is enforced, everything is regulatory. So when they signed up the UN charter, so Qatar government mandated that. So what that mean is that 40,000 companies and all the public departments, they need to report the sustainability every year, just like they report financial reporting, just like that. So this was the first thing. The second thing, which we worked with the McKinsey on a project, and that was very interesting, that the agenda of this reporting was taken away from the operations team and it was given to the CFOs. Now, it is the responsibility of CFO to also do the sustainability reporting. That actually changed the whole spectrum, because when you are reporting for your stakeholders, for example, your public limited company, or even your IPO is coming in, or even you are expanding. So in that case, CFO's responsibility is more authoritative, as you know, in every organization. So that way, they introduced this concept first. Second country was South Africa. Now, South Africa also mandated in 2015 for this sustainability reporting. Now, interesting aspect is, when I was working in the consulting assignments, we used to first tell customers that what are the benefits of sustainability. And in 2015, the things changed. People started to come to us and ask for sustainability solutions, because they believe that through that regulatory push, which was done by the government, they have created somewhat a culture of sustainability. I mean, wanted or unwanted in both ways, they wanted to do it. So when they wanted to do it, so they started finding the benefits because CFOs started to report that not only we are reducing the carbon footprint, but also we are controlling lots of waste. So that means if waste is being reduced, the productivity is increasing. Overall, the capital grows in that case. So this way, they really captured, this thing. Again, I will come refer back to the GRI standards because there was Hamza Sah very rightly mentioned about the SOPs and the KPIs. So in GRI standard, it's a free standard and it has all the ingredients, by the way. So any company can adopt it and they can make use of it. 17 sustainable development goals of UN, because all the UN charters, all the countries, they want to adhere to those goals by 2030. They are set by all, and in fact, the IMF funding, World Bank funding is now linked with those SDP goals. So if the SDGs are not followed properly, so that means the funding will be reduced as well. So there will be less focus on those countries. I have seen one very good shift because most of the biggest change agent in any country is the government. So if the government, the scale that they can introduce in the country, private sector cannot do that. So lots of things from SDGs were adopted by the enterprise world, and they are now becoming very successful and started working.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very important point that you've touched upon, that, unless we have a top-down approach coming in from the government level, mass adaptation of sustainability is very difficult. So you talked about Qatar. So, if it was happening from top down, I know even in Dubai, it has come top down. They're continuing to do that, and I think now Saudi is also joining the bandwagon with their sustainability 2030 vision. So I think the Middle East countries have already started this process, and it is all coming in from top down. So and it's being implemented also very successfully because they've been tracking it very, very rigorously. I think in
Just to add,
Pakistan.
Salman Sab,
Sure.
sorry to just to
Sure,
add,
sure.
the investors are huge, especially investors from the APEC countries, Middle East, as Zafar Saab said. Their first priority is when coming to Pakistan and going into a private limited company is the implementation of these goals. So,
True.
and here we are just lacking behind in some, like we have to implement those things. First, we have to make them understand. And as Numan Saab also said, training is also important. We've got understand. Okay, we've got an understanding here, but we need to train the people that come that are now being used for these working around putting up metrics and everything for these sustainable development goals.
True. Very, very well said.
Yeah. So,
Hafiz
if you
Saab.
may allow me to add
Sure, sure.
something,
Please.
I think this is something very important. And when you look at the various benefits of having a sustainable model within organization, or even I think at a mass level, like you said, for the whole country, I think one of the important factor is to get investment. So, for example, if there are countries like Mr. Zafar mentioned, Qatar, right? So yeah, actually during that period of time in 2013 or 14, I was there working with the Al Jazeera media networks. So the thing is, uh, I believe this is not something that can be taken initiative by the small companies or even the large companies. I believe it is mostly from the government side, right? Why? Because you see, they brought when you need to get something, you need to show basically that you have all the frameworks or the policies or the capabilities, all the infrastructure. I think World Cup is one of the example of that, right? So there were a lot of reservations. I think they fought their case very well for like 10, almost 10 years, right? And they created a very good environment and the infrastructure, and they executed it very well. So from an enterprise perspective, working with companies outside Pakistan, for example, us, we are doing a lot of export, and I can tell you that keeping in mind the sustainable supply chain, our customers are visiting us. So it's not like they are coming here, they are looking into that, what kind of capability we have, how we are, For example, if we are into social, we are fulfilling our social responsibility, yes or no. So I think those kind of learnings help us a lot, taking so many initiative at our organization, right? But the
Yeah.
point here that we are discussing, I can give you many examples, but the point that we are discussing here is that ensuring the continuous investment from your customers, right?
Yes.
So if there is no traceability, if there is no policies implemented, I believe that it will be difficult, and you can see the impact. I mean, if you talk about textile or garment industry, I think most of the investments or the orders were going to Bangladesh, to Sri Lanka, and even to India instead of in Pakistan. So I think this is something very important that even the policy makers at mass level, they need to look into, because if you want to grow, I think we need to have these all standards, like some of the standards Mr. Zafar mentioned. We need to make it mandatory for the companies to meet those standards.
Yeah, that's a very, very important point that you've also touched upon, because I was recently interviewing someone from the textile background, and it was a large unit, textile unit that used to do a lot of exports, and that person was from comms, so communications department. So I mean, I was very surprised to hear that that company was doing a lot of sustainability work, just because their buyers in US had made it a mandatory thing or a requirement for them to do that. They were actually spending to the tunes of around 5 to 10% of their revenue on sustainability initiatives, and I was quite impressed, because you don't generally see these kind of initiatives being taken by the local or local companies, local textile units, especially. In FMCG, you do see a lot of initiatives being taken, because the global market is such that way. If you don't do that, then you're out of it. But I was quite pleasantly surprised to hear it from textile units that were doing some exports. So that's, the world is moving towards in this direction also, and I think we need to also catch the bandwagon, so that we're not left behind, and we do get our share of exports. Because I think in the current scenario where Pakistani rupees has devalued so much, I believe the silver lining is that we have become very competitive in the international market. So this is the time to actually spread our depth into the international field, and get there and get more and more exports wherever possible, in whichever fields it's possible. Okay, I have another question, which is leading to which is basically leading from this question, and that is, generally, what happens is that we as a company are able to drive sustainability, which is difficult, but I mean, through systems and processes, we're able to do it. Where the challenge generally comes in is to implement the same at the suppliers or the vendors end. So what has been your experience in and how have you guys been successfully able to manage that? Because that's a bigger challenge. There the controls are very limited, and our access to the information is also limited. So would be very interesting to hear from you guys, how is this done?
Yeah, sure. So I will just put some comments on that. Uh, you see, first of all, the companies who are very sustainability savvy, they already have processes and policies, and they have a very serious vision. Because, as Numansa mentioned very rightly, that it is actually on a very long-term strategy. It is not something you can achieve in just some years. So it has to be part of your vision statement. It has to be part of your mission statement. And in that case, if that is there, so that means you will uh, not only practice it internally, but also let your suppliers, practice those as well. Now, I will give you two very interesting examples. Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, ADNOC, they started this sustainability because in oil and gas, they are the most environmental damaging industry in the world, because there are lots of fossil fuel, and there are lots of carbon they produce, not only in the air but also in marine. So in land, air, and the oceans, they have the maximum. They are damaging it. So to compensate that, they started a directory service some years back. I think it was 2014, if I remember. So in Abu Dhabi, they have something called Energy Complex. Now, this Energy Complex has 12 companies, and these 12 companies, each company is more than $4 billion company. So it's quite a big. Some do exploration, some do production, some do downstream, some upstream. So what they did was that they said that Mr. Supplier, because they were the suppliers to ADNOC refineries, because they take the oil from different companies and then they process it and then they send to another company. So it's a quite a complex 40, 50 companies network I'm talking about here. So it's a $40 billion business I'm referring here. So in that case, what they did was that Mr. Supplier, if you want to do business with us, you need to have a minimum requirement of sustainability reporting in your place. Now they have not pushed them that what will be the KPIs. They said it will be self assessment. So you become responsible yourself. So you set standards yourself as per your budgets, as per your financial model, so that you remain profitable and you also able to have some sort of programs. So they put this as a condition in all of their RFPs. uh, we we help them with the procurement, advanced procurement solution, and especially when we talk about sourcing. So in sourcing, you require all the RFQ process. So in the RFPs or RFQs, they mention this in the clauses, and they give lots of weightage to this sustainability thing. Now, if a company is not reporting sustainably in some areas which are mandatory for ADNOC, they cannot do business. They cannot do business with them straight away. So that was also a very big push. This is one. So that's why I'm saying, apart from the government, the large enterprises, if they also can instill some kind of discipline, and they also help their customers, help their suppliers to not only push them, but also they may help them with knowledge. They may help them with lots of procedures, processes which they can adopt. So this is one catalyst which can be very good tool. And second is the example of Masafi. Masafi is one of the leading mineral water producer in UAE, and they have the the uh, uh, in mountains they have the drilling facility where they bring out all the water, fresh water, and then they process it and then they supply it. Now the cap manufacturer, the bottle manufacturers, they are all suppliers. So what they did was
True.
they customized our Oracle ERP, and they put some criteria for carbon footprint procurement, for example. For example, if I'm a buyer in an organization, so if I'm placing an order, so system is calculating how much carbon I have saved or how much carbon I have increased by purchasing this
Oh,
particular good. So through that, they actually won the three times a global sustainability award internationally in San Francisco, and they were named at top 20 organizations in the world who have adopted, not only adopted it but also put it as in the system as their business process to manage the sustainability of their suppliers. So I think these two examples are very interesting for the
yes.
audience to enjoy.
Yeah. I think thank you for sharing them. I think it's a great learning experience in terms of how the organizations have established it, and they've made it into a overall process of how do they work or how do they do the business. So I think it's very impressive way of tracking, tracing and tracking sustainability. Anybody else would like to share their examples?
Well, I like to second Zafar Saab because as a vendor, as my company, I working for my company. I've been working as a vendor as well, and as he just rightly said, in the RFPs and the RFQs, when we try to fill it online through their SAP portal and everything. They give us the criteria. Okay, you have to fulfill, attach the policy of your labor policy, what you have, what there's no child labor working around, what a carbon emission policy you have, what wastage policy you have. So all these kind of policies they try to implement through the portal, which helps in digitization, as well as they get the information directly out from the vendor. Okay, we know that you have got these policies. And one more addition I like to add, that I have faced this, when have you reviewed it? That was the one of the questions. Okay, we got it implemented, it was 2 years ago, and now they want to see it, how we have reviewed it, when we have reviewed it, and what changes we have we made it according to the recent environment related issues. So especially talking about the APEC countries and the companies working there, and when we apply for RFPs and RFQs, that is one of the major aspects which I've come across. They wanted us to know the when did we final reviewed it again. So that is also important. Okay, we've implemented it, but the change is also very important. So that keeps us the vendors on toes. Okay, we need to we need to have the updated policies in record, because we are going for the RFP, RFQ, and everything. So that is also a major important role that it goes on. And another thing, it's in local industry, it's like as Zafar Saab said, self assessment is one of the keys. We ask the supplier, okay, you give us the metrics and everything, and you implement the things. But somewhere we have supplier audits as well. We send our teams, and then they prepare a comprehensive report, or maybe half yearly or yearly audits. So that's why supply here, they tend to go with it. Okay, we have got the company manufacturer, and we want to have a long term relationship with this company. So they tend to work with us, with the company. So that is also a check and balance here in Pakistan, that we keep on our suppliers.
Great example there. Thank you for sharing it. Numan Saab, you were about to say.
Uh, Sir, it all boils down to one thing, and that is your goal. If the goal of the organization or a country is clear and not copy pasted and not dictated, not followed, you have your own thing. And then based on that, all these areas that we are covering fall under it, because that will set the vision and that will give the right approach to each and every area, and that's what the measure is. For example, you see technology business is now going to India. Apple is opening up there, and so many others are already there. We have a similar structure. I mean, we can take the benefit, but why they are taking benefit is because of a sustainable model, because there is integrity, and they are delivering it. Their price is effective, and that's why they're generating more business. So now they are more focused on revenue-based business, so that more revenue will reduce their cost and increase their efficiency.
True.
Whereas I think we can take a leaf out of it. We can take a leaf out of China, Malaysia, Indonesia, and so many other countries in this regard, and set up a goal and also a vision in this area, so that we can also export. Just like we said and touched upon, that if we export, we generate more revenue for the country. But having said that, the policy itself needs to be very clear. For example, textile was doing a good job, but because of change in policies, it sometimes goes down. There's a topsy-turvy situation. Technology still is not recognized as an industry, although everyone says it's the only area which can help Pakistan to be sustainable. But
True.
effective policies, measures, um, uh, involvement of stakeholders, and involvement of people who have experience, and taking help. We take help from IMF, but we do not take help in education, in technology, in other sectors like vertical farming, where you can, do wonders, because we are an
True.
agrarian country. So that's the area we need to work. And lastly, for the startups and whoever is listening to this, and it's very important conversation that we all are doing, and I hope that people take advantage of it while they are starting up. The goal is very, very, very important. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, I think very well said. Obviously, if you don't have a goal or a vision set for yourself, then you're not heading towards the, you don't know where to go actually. So I completely agree on that part. Ji Hafiz saab,
Yeah,
आपका कुछ-
G. So, just adding this, I would like to mention that, uh, you know, Sapphire, I think, has invested more into the social side of it. So there is we have Abdullah Foundation, right? And this foundation is working with multiple initiative within Pakistan to adding value to the people. And like you said that this is one of the core values of our organization, right? Integrity and giving back to the society. So I think there has been multiple initiatives that we have taken in terms of education, educating the eligible people or who cannot afford to study, and then also uh, in the health side as well. So just would like to mention that we built some schools where we are providing almost sort of free education to the children in Punjab side and in Karachi as well. So some of the organization that we have, collaborative are even LUMS and IBA. So we are providing a sort of scholarship to the brilliant students, so obviously who cannot afford to study in these institutes. Uh, we are working with SUIT as well, and we are working with Vanar Foundation. Uh, there is in Lahore there is a Razia Sheikh Welfare Trust that we have collaborated with. What I feel that this is the vision of our the chairman of the group of the Sapphire group, right? And I found them uh, working. I think he has almost dedicated himself working on these philanthropy initiatives that we are taking at group level. So this is what we are been doing. I mean, for the social side of it.
Great, thank you very much. I think Numan Saab had a flight to catch, so he had to leave. So thank you very much, Numan Saab, for being here. I have so we're left with a very few minutes, like 3 minutes, before we end the session. I had two very important questions to ask, and the session has gone a little overboard. But I would really like ask. I'm going to ask these two questions straight away, and whoever can answer these questions would be very helpful for our listeners. So first question is that. So today is the age of AI, and technology is going to the next level. I wanted to ask if any one of us have implemented AI in the sustainable supply chain management. So that's my first question. The second question is, what advice would you be giving to someone who's just starting or this journey as a newcomer? So these are the two questions that I would like to end the session with. So Zafar, I would like to go first, I
Yeah,
guess.
sure. So, as I mentioned earlier, that we developed this sustainability cloud, and it is basically driven by AI. So we are heavily using AI and machine learning. So our first implementation is the IntelliSpend, we call it. So what that means is that if a customer gives us 2 years or 3 years of data in a certain format, so our data scientists, they process that data through our tool set, and then we come up with the saving opportunities. Number one, with the predictive category management, with the supplier discount categorization. So they're also they are predicted, and also on the sustainability side, we have put a small angle that how much saving you are doing uh, over the last 3 years, and if you keep on working with these suppliers, so what will happen in the next 2 years, for example. So this tool set, so because I can only comment as a vendor of technology, and that tool is being now adopted by very large organizations in UAE and Saudi Arabia also, and we're also pushing it to the European market this year also. Why I'm saying that? Because if you are an American company and you are working in Europe, So European Commission has mandated for you for the sustainability report by January 24. So
Oh,
in
wow.
January 24, if you are not reported for the sustainability, your license will be cancelled. So you will not be able to work in European Commission at all. So that was a very harsh thing. So that's why we are very aggressively develop this tool and helping those companies not only to report automatically. So we pull the data from the ERPs, we pull the data from the policy documents by machine learning. So we have extensively used NLP and bring that material in and then develop the state or the reporting standard for that particular company. So system develops the sustainability report automatically from that and then does the analysis. Now, for a new company who are the new entrant into that, the good so there is a good news because they will be starting vanilla. So that means if they are not doing anything, so it's the best way to adopt the best practices rather than reinventing everything. So there are standards available in the market. There are lots of aid now available, and they can simply take one of the standards as per their industry and start using it.
Thank you very much. This is very useful information. Hafiz Saab, Hamza Saab, if you guys have any points to add. Yes, Hafiz.
Uh, yeah, I will just add to what Mr. Zafar just said. I think in Pakistan, I believe we are not ready yet. I believe we are still in the exploration phase. It's, I mean, it is very much possible. You can have a large data, right? And then you can use machine learning and the power of AI, to have those predictive and analytics that can support in making different business decisions, right? The companies are looking forward, I believe, from data driven decision makers, but I think we are still on the way, and I really companies are doing basically pilots, right? They still are, I believe, not confident. So I think it will take a bit of time, but it is on the move.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes,
I
Hamza
totally
Saab.
second Hafiz Saab. In Pakistan, there is some time to fully implement AI and machine learning. Although there are some companies that are doing it on a pilot basis, as Hafiz Saab said, he is an IT background, so he has more information on it. But coming to the startups and having dealing with the startups previously as well, I would just recommend them to have this in writing and have the written document in hand and follow that document, because usually it's like, okay, we have an investor coming on board, we'll just pick up a policy from GRI or any best practice, and we'll just show them up. So please don't do that. Implement it, have it, customize it to your liking, to your working, and make it small. I'm not saying that okay, make a 50-page document or 100-page document, make it two-pager, but have it implemented. That's the most important thing, because usually startups, you don't look into these things, and when suddenly a good investor, especially international investor, comes in, he asks, and then they are looking haywire where to go, which policy to implement, and that doesn't show up well as a Pakistani or as a Pakistani startup. You look into it from international perspective. Okay, they had a 50-page document, but when asking for implementation, they haven't done a thing. So have a two-pager document, customize it, and just stick to it and work on it. That's it. That's my simple advice to them.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, honorable guests. I think it was a pleasure to have you guys here on this forum. I've particularly had a great time listening to the discussions of Mr. Zafar Saab, Mr. Noman, Mr. Hafiz, and Hamza. I think you guys have been very, thorough with your work, and the kind of experiences that you guys have shared. I'm sure the audience is also going to learn from this, and this is something which is going to stay on the YouTube channel of CxO. So I'm quite confident that this is going to stay there, and people are going to benefit in the days to come. So I would like to thank everyone for joining us today, and hope to see you guys and connect with you guys soon for some other session. Thank you,
Thank
and
you. Thank you,
Allah Hafiz.
everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you. Thank you.
Allah
Goodbye.
Allah Hafiz.
Hafiz.